How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Pete's Carport. As you can see, my entire AC component system is torn apart from the inside, and I am extremely happy because it is now functioning. And I'm going to go through with you guys what I did, where I got these parts, and how much it cost me to fix, so stay tuned. Okay, so let me fill you in with where I'm at right now. So I just got back from a local U-pull place, and fortunately they had an 89 420 SEL. It had high mileage, so I wasn't sure if any of the components were going to be good. But I decided to pull out the fan blower, the resistor, the actual component that runs your vacuum lines, which I have down in here somewhere. I even pulled a door motor as well too, or a window motor, because my window is not going up on this side. And I pulled the AC computer component here, and this is the first thing I tried connecting out of all the parts, and this was the issue. So basically, I was having issues with it, the blower sporadically going on and off. I absolutely thought it was the motor based on my research, so I pulled the motor. I'm going to show you guys clips of that. I cleaned the motor. I checked the brushes on it. The brushes look good. I re-put some new springs in there, which only cost me like 50 cents to pick up at a local store, and tested her. It ran great. Put it back in, and it started to sporadically come on and off. So I started to pull apart the vacuum lines just to make sure all my vacuum lines were working good. And I couldn't find any issues with the vacuum lines, so I put it all back together, and I could not get the blower to come on at all, and it was coming on sporadically prior to that. So I thought my resistor must have had an issue, because I probably, when I was testing the motor, maybe I hit something. I figured maybe I shocked the resistor, and so that was my first thought. My resistor's bad, so I was trying to buy a new one of those. Little did I think that it was going to be this head unit here, even though I probably should have, because it seems like there's some buttons here. I mean, the real problem with these units is they don't tell you if they're working or not. There's no lights, and you click around, but this one here is jammed shut, and I'm wondering if it just got really dirty, and inside there's a computer component that just needs to be cleaned out. I'm not even going to mess with it because I've got a working unit now, and I want to show you guys how you can test the different components, how you can test your blower motor even with it still in the vehicle to see if that is the issue, how you can change your brushes, which is not the easiest thing but not the most difficult thing, and most important, how you can clean out your motor and restore it back to its original blowing speed. And that's what I did to this one. So I'm actually happy I did pull the motor, because I really cleaned it out. It was disgusting. And I revived some of the components in it, and I was able to put it back in very easily, and now it seems like it is blowing way harder. So I'm going to get this whole thing put back together, and at the end of the video show you guys how everything is functioning. But in the middle, I'm going to show you guys how to work on this blower motor, how to get the blower motor out, and so forth. So we're going to get started on that now. I've got the motor out, and I'm going to explain to you what I did, because I just hooked it up to the car battery and got it to run, and I think I fixed the issue. So these have many common issues, and some of them are just getting dirty on the inside here. If you look at your motor here, they've got lots of connections. Sometimes connections come loose, but one of the main things is the brushes. And your brushes are located right on each side, and you can see I broke the little clip on this. And when I took the end caps off here and pulled the spring out, I noticed the springs were really weak, and the brushes looked like they had a lot of life left in them. And this car doesn't have a ton of miles, so instead of going on, Mercedes Resource has a brush set that they've tested. It's a little more expensive than just picking up some generic brushes, but they give you full instructions, and it looks like a really good set. It runs about $30 with shipping. Recommend that. I might even just go and do that. But first I went down to Home Depot and picked up some fresh springs, and ironically they had the exact springs that fit this vehicle. I will link those below. I don't have the package right here with me because I went ahead and put these in and then put those stuff aside. But I replaced the springs, and then I soaked it down with WD-40, and I found that in another video somebody had commented, and they went ahead and did that, and they said to sit it out in the sun and dry a full day. I actually did that part yesterday. I actually pulled this thing out yesterday partially and sprayed it down while it was still kind of up in there, but I disconnected the battery when doing that. And then I decided that I'm going to pull the whole thing out and not risk it, and I haven't been driving the car, so I went ahead and did that today. Then, earlier I went and almost used this entire can of CRC electric cleaner. This stuff really dries it out, so I sprayed that all inside here, and I was getting a lot more gunk out. So I might suggest, instead of the WD-40, that this is a better option to get it really clean, because that was what the gentleman was saying. He got everything really clean with the WD-40, but you do risk shorting out something if you hook up the battery before that stuff dries. And so I think that this is a safer option, and it does clean it very well. The other thing is my bearings were very, very good, as you can see. So the bearings sometimes need to be greased, and I did not do that, but you can grease those bearings as well. And the main thing that I think is going to get this to work right is if you look where the brushes actually touch, which is right along that right there, you want to go ahead and clean that down. And what other people said they did is put a screwdriver and then just kind of ran it along it and spun it. But what I did was I took a green brush, a scrub brush, with a screwdriver, pushed it in there and just spun it and just kept spinning it. And then these springs really did tighten up the brushes, so I think that combination of that allowed this to kick back on. So I want to show you guys all of that first, since I had this out. And as far as pulling it out of the car, I'm going to kind of jump to that. I've got to put it all back together to show you guys how I got it apart. Alright guys, so I still got mine partially disassembled, but I've got every part because I picked up backup parts for everything, so I can kind of show you exactly how this comes apart, the symptoms, all the things you want to look for, and the different areas for the components. Now, this is still kind of a part here. Like I said earlier, mine ended up being your control panel here, and that's a very common issue, but most common is the blower motor sporadically working. So my system, when I got the car, was working just the blower. It was not blowing cold, and so I started playing around hitting the buttons. I got, in another video that I'll link below, I got the compressor to come on, jumping it, got it filled. I don't think there's any leaks because it's still holding pretty much all of the 134A I put in there, and so that's a good thing. So then I moved on to getting figuring out this, because it was starting to come on sporadically. A couple of times I'd drive around, it wouldn't come on, and it started to get worse and worse. And so I thought my blower motor was just not having a good connection with the brushes, as well as needing to be cleaned and so forth. So I started there. So let me show you guys how you access your blower motor. And so your blower motor is going to be accessed up underneath this panel here, and you're basically going to remove this piece here, which has you see those screw holes. There are a few screws there. There's a plastic pop-out clip that goes there, and then there's one more screw that you have to access up underneath that part right there. That's right there. Then you're going to be able to bring this down. Now, up underneath that component, I'm sorry, actually along here, you're going to want to pull that out so you're able to drop that down. And then there's also this piece here that's going to be up under there. Once you get that out, this is where your blower motor and your resistor are located. So if you can see that now, that's exactly where that's going to be located. So this is that bottom panel that we're looking at there. This is your resistor. So you're going to have a screw there, and I think one more along the back there. So you got 3 screws. This will fall down. Your resistor is bolted in with 2 little nuts there if you need to change that, and it plugs in easily. You can follow these plugs and they pull right out. So if you need to change that, that's what you're going to do. Now up underneath that, it's going to look like this here. So this is held in with a few screws around this plastic piece, and this is your blower motor. That will fall out. It unplugs from that. Now if your blower motor is moving freely like this one, that usually means that the it's not seized and the bearings aren't all gummed up. And even if it is, you can sometimes still get it to work. So now what you want to do next is use a flathead plier or flathead screwdriver and pop that off, or some pliers. And there is one more Phillips head screw there. And that will allow you to remove the entire plastic piece and access cleaning inside here. Now, I use WD-40 at first just to spray it all down, and realized that's going to take quite a lot of time to dry. So then I ended up using CRC electric cleaner, and I did a whole video on that, thinking that I was going to be able to put this right back in and it was going to work. Well, I got that all done, even put new springs in. These are the brushes here. They're pretty hard to access because you got to pry open these little metal things here. A spring's going to come flying out, and then you've got to snag out the brushes. Once you have this plastic piece off, it's a lot easier. Okay, so since I got my motor back in, and I was pretty confident that my resistor wasn't gone because it was working sporadically, and usually a resistor will just go right out, I moved on to checking my vacuum lines. Now, typically, your vacuum lines, which are going to be located right behind this here, you can pull this whole thing out. There's only one screw down there, and you can access that right there, which I've already pulled one out of another car. And this is your vacuum lines. Now, this is typically just going to open and close the different vents and allow your system to come on and off, and it functions in accordance with the AC and what you're doing on the AC control panel there. I was hearing a lot of clicking coming from here, and now I'm realizing the main component was probably sending shorted signals to this, and this thing was probably trying to come on and off, opening up different things. If this is not working, you are not going to be able to get anything to function properly. So luckily, that at the U-pull was only like $30. So I got all of these components for about 90 bucks. Took me about probably 45 minutes to pull them in the rain. And so I got very fortunate. So that's a quick breakdown on how everything kind of works, how you access everything, and what my issues were. And so I hope this video helps you guys out. I didn't want to drag it on and go into, you know, a whole bunch of things, but I do want you guys to comment below if you have an issue and you're wondering what it could be, how you can get a hold of one of these components, where you should start, and so forth. The U-pull places are really good because the one that I had go to has a 30-day exchange policy. If it doesn't work, they'll actually give you a credit towards getting other parts. And so if they have several cars in their lot, you can kind of test it out that way. Or you can even bring your vehicle there and test it in the parking lot if it's something simple. With these blower motors, you can test them too in the car. So if it's mounted up in here, you've got your red wire, which is going to be actually the other side here. Sorry about that. No, I'm sorry. This is that is the red there, and that is the blue, and the one's a prong, and one's a female, one's a male, and you're basically going to attach your main. You can use your car battery because you need 12 volts. Attach one to your positive and one to your negative, and it should jump on. Now you're going to know that because your red wire and blue wire. Your red is your positive, and your blue is going to be your ground. Coming from the resistor. So you pull those resistor wires off, and you just tap it and just see if it clicks on. That's how you know if this is actually functioning and something else is the issue. Now, I pulled mine out and cleaned it. It is working insane now. When I got the car, it was blowing, but it was not blowing that hard, and I was kind of thinking, well, it's an 86. It probably didn't have that great of an AC. Now, this thing is pumping out better than my W140, and it's all because I cleaned it out. I put new springs in. I got the brushes to connect even better. So I do suggest doing that even if your AC unit is working, but it's just not blowing that good. So once again, my name's Pete, guys. This is Pete's Carport. I am absolutely in love with this W126. This is an 86 420 SEL that I picked up a little while back. And the major concern that I had was AC not working. And being in Florida, that's a huge deal. So I finally got that working today. So now I can start daily driving this for a couple of weeks. I'm not going to continue to daily drive it on a long term, but I want to enjoy it. I want to be able to drive it, you know, on a couple of different long distance things. I've got all the fluids changed out on this thing now, so that was an easy task and fun. I made sure all the lights are functioning, got it all registered and road ready. So if you guys want to see more content on this, I'm going to be changing out the window motor on this side here because that's not working, and tightening up a few things on the inside. And also, I found a new McGuire's cleaner. As you can see, that's working really good, softening up the seats and protecting that dash that I put on there. I'm usually a 303 guy, but that Meguiar's new stuff worked out really well, and I'll fill you guys in on that too. So have a great day. This is Pete. I'm Pete. This is Pete's Carport. Like, subscribe, and share, guys. Hope this helps somebody out there, and hope it continues to help people out going forward. Have a great day.